biara kama nkaboy every apomudia so ye Ministry of Health and Ghana Health Services anyone partners ahodo nyina.
Love in the morning on Love 99.5 FM.
Hallelujah, it's morning.
Good morning. It's a wonderful brand new day. Good morning.
Welcome to 99.5 Love FM.
About so soon 24 minutes past 7. That's what time it is here in the studios of Love 99.5. And we're still continuing our education and our conversation on safety as coronavirus is still, lurking around. So far, we've had 6 confirmed cases in Ghana. Now, my very good brother and friend, Nana Ojima, took a trip to a place called Dagomba Line. Now, he went there because you and I know that the president announced on Sunday that schools ought to be closed down and all religious activities ought to be, banned as well. So all we're trying to do is minimize large gatherings, and that is how come these measures have been put in place. Now, talking about large gatherings, we have raised concerns about the number of people in our markets. And for example, yesterday on the diary, we talked about how to stay safe when you go to the market. But like I said, my friend here took a trip to Dagomba Line because of the number of people who live in that slum area and the number of people who share rooms. All right. Now, he's with me in the studios of Love 99.5, and he's going to be telling us more. Now, we are doing this because if we are not lucky and 1 or 2 people from that very large community should get coronavirus, it will spread like wildfire. I remember during my introduction, I made mention this morning that they go to town. These people are mostly and mainly head porters, or let's say the Kayaye. Others are artisans. They push trucks and they do all manner of things. And on a daily basis, they come into contact with all of us. So if care is not taken and one of them has it, and your wife goes into town, your sister goes into town, and they come into contact with any of these people, the disease will spread. So once you're here, Nana Ojima, you tell us, before we even share with our listeners a report you've been able to put together, share with us what you saw and what the people themselves know about COVID-19.
So David, I took a trip to the place when they had closed from the market. So it was around 5 p.m. and some of them were in their rooms. They had just returned and retired to bed, or have some temporary sleep before they continue with whatever they would want to do. And interestingly, you find a lot of these young men who have come back from dealing in scraps, sitting under sheds. And they didn't mind shaking hands. They didn't mind body contacts and all those things. And if the video they are showing on Facebook, and we had some of those scenes in there, a lot of these young men are sitting under this shed, handshakes, body contacts. They are speaking around. They are having conversations around themselves. And I got close and tried to have conversations with them. And even though they are aware of the coronavirus, they tell me that they believe that the God we all pray to will protect them from the virus, because according to them, there have been many diseases that had come across. They've come across with, and none of them have been able to put them down. And they believe that they live by the mercy of God. And they took me through the rooms they sleep in. And if you look at how small these rooms are, the person I went there with told me the rooms are 10 by 10, the size of the room, 10 by 10 meters square. And if you look at the size of the room and the number of mats you see in there, and they tell me when it's evening, the bosu among them, that's how they say it, the bosu among them, the leaders, are those who get the opportunity to sleep in these wooden structures. So I could count not less than 5 mattresses and a number of mats, and all these mats in the evening will be spread on the floor for people to sleep on. So you see the kind of danger we are exposed to. Yeah. If one of these people have the virus, it's easy to spread the virus in such a condition. I also had the opportunity to see where the ladies, the Kai, they sleep, and it's equally a small room, and you see a lot of their dress, their clothing, skirts and other clothing hanging on the walls. No windows, nothing. And they sleep. The room I entered had 8 people in there, excluding children. 3 of them had children. So their children and the ladies themselves sleep in those rooms.
They share their room
Yes.
together. So at this point in time, let's bring to you the report put together by Nana Yojima. And also, as we speak right now, we're showing the video on our Facebook page right now. It's live on LUV 99.5. Now, what we need for you to look out for is the space in which they sleep, the number of people in a room, and the fact that there are no windows. And of course, this means poor ventilation. If any of them should have, disease, easily they can all become contaminated with it and will get it. And when they step out to engage,
I'm paying for no more. Ben,
أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله I'm paying for no more. Ben,
Nana, so the lady you spoke with, the lady you engaged with, the one who spoke in English, how old would you say she is?
This is about, she told me she's 19.
Okay.
And she just completed senior high school, and she's here to try gather some money and get back to school through the KIU business.
And unfortunately, she doesn't even know about personal hygiene, aside from the fact that after eating, you wash your hands, and when you visit the loo, you do same. And so that is a big deal.
That's how much she knows. And with this virus, you have to improve on personal hygiene so that you'll be protected from contracting such disease.
And of course, when it comes to hand washing, it's not just washing your hands like the way we normally do it. There's a very specific way of hand washing. Now, Dr. Michael Osu is a lecturer and researcher with the Department of Medical Diagnostics, KCCR, KNUST. He is also the director for the Center for Health System Strengthening. And he is once again with us in the studios of Love 99.5. So, Doc, you've seen the video and you've heard the narrations and the conversation that ensued between Anayao and some of the people who live at the Agomba line. What thoughts did you have, when it was showing on a screen for you?
Good morning, David, and good morning to all your cherished listeners of Love FM. It's good to have a wonderful morning, and we are grateful to God for this day. So I'm just watching the video, and we have a big challenge to deal with in these slums. And if you look at the various sections which were shown, right from the rooms and how they seem to be piled up together. Ventilation, very poor ventilation, and if you look at their sanitation, it's quite poor. So for a place like this, all the most of the precautionary measures which has been put out there in directives will not apply, and this is where
the challenge is. Now, these are people who on a daily basis come into contact with many people out there from all walks of life. They come into contact with us. The headquarters would engage with women who go into town to buy stuff. They would also engage with men who go to town to buy stuff, and they help them carry their goods. And in carrying the goods, there are some who engage in conversations with them, and money exchange hands and all that. Now, having seen this, what do you think we need to do about the situation?
So, like I always say, that we haven't gotten to the level of community transmission. We don't have evidence of community transmission, which is one thing that we just don't want to happen. And most of the cases, not all the cases are imported cases. And the other thing you must also know that even in the whole of Africa, the data available of all the 54 countries in Africa, 20 of them have reported their cases. Most of these are among the affluents. Just study this carefully. So, because it's those who have money who will go to the UK and Italy and come back, and the buggers. And if you deal with that group, they just form a small population of the bigger picture out there, which will mean that they have their private cars. So for these groups, if you wouldn't want to see more of transmission, because they may live in their own homes, their own flats. But then when you think of this trickling down to the lower level, where you have pictures like this, then you will want to begin to put in measures, and you want government to begin to look at that, the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources, to begin to have in mind how to deal with this. Like I said the other time, the president has given a directives, but then the fine details of these directives and how this will be implemented to the lower level, this is not yet out. Most of our directives are operating at the high level among few people that are worthy, affluent, and who understand, knows education and have read and seem to be abreast. But at the lower level, like what we are seeing, where people are piled up together, it's a big problem to deal with. And I was telling you shortly that, coronavirus is, as we have always been saying, coughing, sneezing, and making sure that you cover your nose, you clean with alcohol, hand-based sanitizers, which is what we know. But then there are about 2 review articles from China which has shown that 10% of all people who present with coronaviruses also shed the virus through their stool. So before you develop the respiratory symptoms, you will start having gastrointestinal manifestations. So you will have the virus particle in your stool. And it's even believed that after the virus is cleared from your nasopharynx or lungs, means you recover, you can still shed the virus in your stool for some time.
Your stool?
Yeah.
Still, it will be there?
It will be there for some time. So if you are able to share this virus among 10% of people who have it, which will mean that, like we are talking about, obviously, you will know that they are going to exchange, share, and give multiple things to multiple people.
Well, I'm happy that you touched on this stool bit. I'm happy because Nanayo's trip showed that they don't have very good, lavatory systems. Yeah. And so it is not like an open defecation per se, but upon defecation, and apologies to those of you who are listening to us who maybe might be eating or stuff like that, I'm sorry. But where their affluence ends, it ends up in open drains. And if you say that this can amounts to like 10% in our stools, then we must be very careful that we don't have an outbreak, and even an outbreak in the slum area, because once it gets into the environment, we are all at risk. That's what it is.
Certainly, David. And if you have 10% of all people who present with this disease shedding in their stool, then of course we talk about fecal oral transmission. So it means that wherever the feces goes, whoever comes into contact is likely to be exposed to the disease. And personally, well, if you look at the people that were interviewed, most of them could be middle-aged, could be young children. You will expect that about 90% of them will recover. But the issue is not just about recovery. And as I said, within the African picture, we don't have much data to know the way the disease will move. But within this population, malaria could be one of the big problems. They may have their own respiratory disease among their problem, typhoid, HIV. It could be their problem. So you imagine that if you have possible co-infection between HIV, malaria, HIV respiratory disease, the combination of this is likely to lead to a very severe ailment, assuming you have to have this community level transmission. And I was just looking at the Ghana Health Service HIV platform, where if you have about 300,000 people living with HIV, with already having tuberculosis complicated by some of these COVID, then you wouldn't want to say that we should just leave it to go. Let's leave them, because at the end of the day they will be fine. They will troop to our health systems. They will overwhelm us, and they may even give this out to ordinary people who come to the market, exchange things, and you will want they can trigger a whole cascade of events. So I think that it's very good. We need to look at them. These are people that are all Ghanaians. We must be able to put them in the picture when we want to deal with these problems, and not just solve it at the cities and among few affluent people in society, but we must go down to them. I'm not sure what can be done, but I think that the earlier we do something, the better. Like I always say, that we have had the grace period of this window, the window period for us to prepare. And even now, we still have a window period, because we are dealing with imported cases. We haven't gotten to the level of active community transmission, which is not an alarm, but you don't sit down and wait for that. You will have to put in place
some measures
to be able to deal with this.
Let's look at the congestion, the fact that they are congested in rooms, 8 or 9 or so to a room, where there's poor ventilation. These are some of the reasons why schools haven't closed down. These are some of the reasons why we're not supposed to be, in church on Sundays for church activities, and the mosques are also closing. So if this is the situation they find themselves in, what should we do to help? Because one outbreak could be disastrous to us all. So education is key. What do we need to do at this material time?
So the problem there is not something that individuals can tackle. You want the city authorities, you want the ministry to come on board. Possibly decongest the place. Either you can relocate them to places and then or close down some of these slums, and then offer them opportunities where they can live at very good places. I mean, for the good of us all. Because, as I said, their problem is our problem. It's not just about them. So it requires some investment as well. If you have to relocate them to very good places for them to undergo their duties, then, of course, you will have to invest some money to be able to move them to the places. So we are adequately prepared to deal with this. Glossing over it and thinking that all is okay doesn't apply. One of the thing we are preaching about is social distancing. How do you distance yourself in this? Look at the rooms. They are almost piled. So social distancing will not apply. And if one person has something, they will all have it. And if one person has cold, you imagine everybody will have it, and they will all take it out. So
and these are people, these are people who come into contact on a daily basis with foreigners, with all manner of people, and do all manner of engagements with them. And when this is done, they go their separate ways. We all go our separate ways.
Of course, they play an important role. As apart from the fact that they go to our markets to assist in carrying goods and helping us with things that we carry. Of late, you could see that a lot of the wealthy people in society would drive their cars, and then they will park the car somewhere and call them that, look, go and do some marketing shopping for me. There are others who have contact numbers of these people. They call them to their homes. They give them a list of things they have to buy. They just go to the market, they buy the things and bring it to them. So indirectly and directly, we are always in touch with them. So if you have to trace the pattern of transmission, and I know the mathematicians will love this, if you have to model this and look at the picture of event that will possibly occur, then you can make a good prediction that if they are to get it, then they're going to serve as the hotspots for quick transmission of this and perhaps spread through different parts of the country.
You and I know that where they live in the slums, and I'm very uncomfortable calling the place a slum, although that's what it is, they don't have running water. And the advice is that we wash our hands and wash it very well under running water with soap. Now, which means that once they don't have running water there, the very little water they have, they would want to protect it and guard it like, whatever. Again, they don't have enough to be able to buy hand sanitizers and keep sanitizing their hands. So I understand, what can corporate Ghana do? What can we do? Because safety is a key word here. How would you call on corporate Ghana to say, come in and help, whether with hand sanitizer? This morning I was hearing that John Dumelo, for example, intends to purchase some 3,000 hand sanitizers and distribute to them, which of course to me is a good move. How can other people do same to help people who live in these slum areas? So at least they are safe, because once they are safe, to a large extent, it's going to trickle down for our safety as well.
David, you've said it right, and I like what John Dumelo did. And the last time I was trying to say that we need to call on the very big people in society. This is the time for them to show goodwill to the country. These are people who live below the minimum average income level. So you wouldn't expect them to go and buy alcohol sanitizers. You wouldn't expect them that they should quickly go and rent their rooms. You wouldn't expect even water pipes to go through their places for them to get water to wash their hands. So what it means is that either individuals who are able to procure this can procure huge numbers of sanitizers, make it available to them. People can decide to have water tanks. This is at the individual level. And then buy Veronica buckets and place it at their doors for them to wash their hands and clean themselves whenever they have to. And then help in them. That's at the individual level. But at the city level, you will expect that if there is any funding available and it's possible to close down the slums and then offer them opportunities for them to have some accommodations at places which are more safer. This is a good plan. But when you talk about slums, closing slums down, Erastus has done quite a good number of work over there. It's a difficult thing for government to do, but we have been seeing this over all these years and have always looked on this all these years, and now it's possible they may now serve as a danger to all of us. So I think the individual thing can help. One person can own up, can decide to say that I take up this slum, I buy huge numbers of this for them. Let them use this as a temporary measure to be able to protect themselves, to be able to keep themselves safe, clean themselves when they have to clean, to get them water 24/7 for them to wash their hands before they undergo their normal duties. Whilst we look at the long-term measure where the district assemblies, the DCs, the MCDCs, the Ministry of Environment, Sanitation could begin to put in place measure within this time period. If we can do this, I think that is going to go a long way.
Because the main key word here is prevention.
Prevention.
We don't want to have any more confirmed cases.
And the directives of the president must be followed to the latter. It's not. We should not look at it at the top. It will be effective if it goes down to the ordinary person who is living at the slum. This is what it means by directives. In this developed world, it's the point that they had good structures. Their structures are very good. They have good house numbers. They have good pipes running. So if you make a directive, it is implemented to the smallest person and everybody can go his home, social distance. It works. It works in the US, it works in Italy, it works in all of them. The picture in sub-Saharan Africa is quite complex. So dealing with outbreaks, epidemics in our setting is very, very complex because of so many events that can come into play, so many variables to play with in order to get things done. So if you will need our team, our corporate thinkers in Ghana, the government, the ministry, the public health division, to look at the strategy. How do we deal with slums in preparation for a possible community spread of coronavirus? What do we have to do? If we can put in a temporary measure, what are we doing? Are we giving them things for them to use? Can we begin to plan for a long term in order not to have any of this? Because their problem is our problem.
Indeed, their problem is our problem. And listen, I mentioned corporate Ghana, but even as individuals, we can support. So let's say you're going to town, you know that you fall on these head porters to assist you carry your goods and stuff like that. Why don't you just buy a hand sanitizer, some small pack, and then just give it to them? Let them make use of it. And, when you keep giving them, consciously, they would also have at the back of their minds that, listen, we can also buy some and use in our own personal hygiene and safety. So, yes, we're calling on corporate Ghana to come in and help. But when we are going into town, you can buy just 1 or 2 or 3 small hand sanitizers and then give it to them. And tell them why. Let's educate ourselves. Let's do this together. Now, I recall speaking to the Regional Director of Health, Dr. Ting Krang, a couple of weeks ago when I heard about a student dying of meningitis. And he made mention of the fact that, the heat at the time was causing the problem. And so, therefore, his advice was that we should be mindful in the position in which we sleep. So, in as much as, let's say, they are students and they are in a dormitory, they should not sleep in one direction. So, if your head goes this way, the other person's leg should go that way, so that you're not sleeping in the same direction. Looking at the video we saw, and I'll ask my social media guy to show the video again. It is a video of people who live in an area in Kumasi called Dagomba Line. Now, their room is very small, and about 8 to 10 people, sleep in that very room. It has no windows, so you know that ventilation is poor. And so these people also on a daily basis go to town, and in their activities, they engage with all manner of people, from Chinese to Ghanaians, you name it. They engage with all manner of people whom they help carry stuff, whom they help to feel comfortable when they are in town. Once they are engaging with people, the chances that they might get coronavirus, if somebody has it, is high. Now, if they should carry it, if 1 or 2 or 3 of them should carry it into the slum area, looking at the situation under which they live, it can easily spread. And when it spreads amongst them, then the danger that is going to spread further amongst us is high. And that is why we are asking, or that's why we're having this conversation and this education, that listen, corporate Ghana, let's help these people. They don't have running water available. They don't have enough funds or money to buy hand sanitizers. So let's support them, even on the individual basis. When you're going to town, you have 1 or 2 or 3 small hand sanitizers, give it out for free and educate them. Should they be sleeping in that opposite positions?
I perfectly agree with the regional directors.
And that was for meningitis, not necessarily for COVID-19.
It applies because it's similarly in meningitis. If you want to deal with things like streptococcus pneumoniae, which can be carried within the nasopharynx. So once you breathe in and breathe out, and you cough or you sneeze, some of these. So as you breathe in and breathe out, you have, if your noses are lying at the same places, there could be exchange of these bacteria for one person to take it and move on. So in the opposite direction could help reduce quick transmission of this. So I think his advice is quite good. But this takes me back to our already old problems, and especially within these times. If you have such a crowded environment, there is a high risk of meningitis, there is a high risk of ordinary flu. There is a possible malaria. There is a possible typhoid because of sanitation problems. They could live lifestyle. There could be possible HIV. So if you have such a cohort of group with these problems, they are a high-risk group, which will mean that they have a higher chance of being exposed and spreading compared to ordinary people who can drive in their private cars and who fly from outside, from Italy, and move to their homes, and then they are safe and fine. I agree with you that this is the time to show good solidarity to everybody, where individuals who are able to do this will go a long way to help. If you can buy, just buy them, give it to them as a temporary measure whilst we all begin to think through this. The call for this is a call in the right direction.
And indeed, in as much as we're not doing that, for those of you who still engage with them when you go to town, make sure that you take your own personal hygiene seriously, because if you engage with them, and they might have engaged with other people from some coronavirus-prone countries, and they are here, and you shake their hands and you meet me and you want to shake my hands and I refuse, don't take it negatively, because I'm trying to protect myself. All right, so let's all be mindful of the personal hygiene safety measures, and let's adhere to them, and let's make very good use of them. Okay, but again, I pray that somebody will take up this mantle and go to that area, maybe one evening, and give them education, because again, from the engagement that I had with them, it's obvious that they don't have enough information about the COVID-19. They don't even know about its existence and all that. So some education ought to be taken to them for them to be conscious of what we're dealing with.
Yes, David, certainly, and I would love it if the media, the non-governmental organizations, even the church, the faith-based organizations, the religious groups, could liaise with the public health division of the Ashanti region, and then the other different groupings we have. For those who have received the education, they could engage these people and pass on this to them. It's a goodwill, as I said. If you have Ghanaian churches with health professionals who are very learned, who could devote as part of their social responsibilities to go to these people to educate them, after which they donate items to them. It is a sign, and I think that, as I said, these are not usual times. These are
normal times at all.
These are things that I'm not sure, since I'm growing, to hear of systems closed down and people not moving because of we are expecting that something will happen. So if you have unusual times like this, then it calls for people to do the extraordinary to be able to help protect.
Listeners, you can join us on 03220-83596. All that you've heard so far, what thoughts you have about it, and if there's any coronavirus question you have, well, he's an expert on it, and he'll be giving you the right information and advice. Give us a call now on 03220-83596. Another number you can call us on is 0554-031-192. 0554-031-192. You can call that number as well, and you get through to us. Hi, Kofi, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Bruni. You are thinking about the Kaya youth, forgetting about our rural folks who also don't know anything equally as these people. But they come to market every day with foodstuffs to sell for us to eat. They also exchange money exchange hands. Yes. You see, so as we are thinking about these Kayayes, we must as well think about the rural folks. And David, the president, when he was campaigning, he promised to build them hostels. And when he came to power, he came out with Zongo minister. What has happened to these people? You see, this coronavirus is no respecter of persons. It doesn't respect president. It doesn't respect rich man. It doesn't respect even somebody who is sick.
That is true.
Everybody,
and that is why we need to be careful. Everybody is at risk. Kofi, thank you very much. Nana Kweku, good morning.
Hello, good morning. First of all, I'll ask you a question. My brother, don't you want to be the best journalist in Ghana? I hope you've been on radio. That's your goal. And there's something I'm going to advise you about. Today, what you've done today is a low point in journalism. In this time of crisis, and I hope you bear with me, and let me finish. You see, these hard times that I would have loved that you wrote this morning. So let's see what the story you put on the slum that they are. What is the endpoint? Do you go and then evict them? Come to our town. Come to Kofum. People are living in houses. There are even more than 100 in one house. My own place where I used to live. There are more than 100 in one house. You go evict them. But I would have loved that you come on the radio today and say, look, me personally, come to the fact you do something incubator. You can say, look, this is what I'm going to do in this crisis time. I want corporate people to come join me, fuel my car, doctors and everything. We are going to these places. We are going to educate them. The end point is something that is to all help us.
I called on corporate Ghana to go and help. I've called on individuals who go to town and engage with them to give them hand sanitizer so they can stay safe. I have said that we need to give them education.
All the contributions everyone did. But what I'm saying is, you saying that we should all come to you individually, much as the individuals will do their thing, you all come to you that at least Love FM is here heading this. If you want me to fuel your car today, PA system to go to some places, I will join you.
I hear you, Nana Kweku. I hear you, Nana Kweku. Thank you very much. You want me to champion it and say I'm going out there and do it. But I think that we all can put our hands on deck, like I've been calling for, and fight this. Give out the right information. Abubakar, good morning.
Good morning, Dave. How are you?
I'm well, Abubakar. Let's hear you.
Yeah, my contribution is advice to everybody. We should be very careful. Those who are taking from other people, everybody should be very cautious. Because the way this thing is going on, I think.
Well, we lost you there, Abubakar. Sorry about that. Christoph is on the line. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, my brother. I hope you're fine.
I am very well.
Yes. Dave, are you aware that our truck drivers or our trusty drivers are still doing things as they used to do?
Yes, I know, and that's why there's an enforcement coming their way shortly. That would ensure that they conform.
Indeed, it's serious. Some of us are fortunate to have a private car, but the masses, and these are our family members. We meet them. They bought these cars, come around to our houses. We go out with them. We stand a better chance of contracting this deadly disease. I shall believe that the society, that's your local station, should educate them, because most of them listen to some of these things. And then, Dave, I'm also telling you that you can go to certain houses and then pick some people, the 2-3, bring them in the studio, interview them, let them tell you what they know about the virus. But up to now, some people don't know anything about it. And that makes it very well. So when you bring them and ask them their version, and then with that, we can also take it along to people out there so that we can eradicate it.
Thank you very much, Christoph. KB, good morning.
Yeah. Dave, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very well.
Good. Please, educate me. I don't understand this thing. If you can explain it to me. What is COVID-19 and what is coronavirus? Sometimes they say the two together. Sometimes they make mention of one. Tell me, what is it?
All right, so for want of time, I'll ask you to hang up now. We'll give you that education before we wrap up, okay? Thank you very much. Let's speak to Otis, who's also on the line. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. I hope you are doing well.
I am very well, Otis.
Thank you very much. The little I have to discuss with you this morning is that I think that the president should rather supply free sanitizers to every individual Ghanaian. That's what will actually help. Those at the drugstores, they are either out of stock or when you go to buy, they inflate the price. I went to buy one this morning, just the very smallest bottle, 10 Ghana cedi. Just last week, a friend of mine bought a bottle of sanitizer. It was 6 Ghana cedi. Today, I understand that particular size is 30 Ghana cedi. So what is happening? This is about our health and it's about our life. And yet this is what is happening. So I want to just ask that instead of the government putting up places to take care of people who are infected, they should rather provide free sanitizers and other measures that can actually help us. And I think that will go a long way to help each and every single one of us.
Otis, thank you very much, Otis. Now, it was right after his studies in recycle management that Paul Kofi accepted the challenge of building with plastic waste. Today, not only does he help in recycling our environment, he provides jobs for many Ghanaians. Ghana, at APSA, this is what we call Africanacity. It is our inspiration behind who we are and what we do. Now, it's our commitment to helping people find a way to get things done. We live in Africa, we live in Ghana, we love this, and this is why we call ourselves Africanacity. Now, for more information, you can visit apsa.com.gh and you get all the necessary information you want. 0554 031 192. 0554 031 192. You can call us and we can talk to you. George, good morning.
Good morning, David. My concern has been how we handle our friends and those who use paper, because one could easily mingle with something or say something, and we'll just, when it just a call, the person will just handle his phone and just do whatever or finish with that phone. And at the same time, the person can just hang this and touch the spectacles and do that. But after watching or doing something, doing whatever sanitation and that sanitation measures he needs to undertake, the person, when he gets back to his phone and the spectacles, he feels that that one is out of free from any form of touch or something. Meanwhile, that's the very thing we easily handle. Meanwhile, we do not apply any form of sanitation or cleaning measures to those phones and the hair spectacles. How can we do about that?
Well, it's a good information you've also identified and you've shared it, and I pray that people who use spectacles and other of these things would also be mindful of how they handle them. Let's speak to our very final caller, political thinker. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, David. Yeah, I think the president has done enough, to cure for this coronavirus, but I don't know what he is doing about to the prisoners, the congested prisoners. I don't know how he's going to manage them from this virus, and the congested orphans in the various orphanages homes. So I think he should do something about these people. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, political thinker. We can't pick any more calls for now. So, Doctor, what would you want to say? First of all, somebody wants to know the difference between, if there's a difference between COVID-19 and coronavirus.
Yeah, so coronavirus is the big family. It's a group of viruses. Coronavirus is the big umbrella group. Under that, you have 7 viruses. 4 of them which normally cause the mild illness. The 5th one is the MERS. The 6th one is the SARS, and the 7th one we have is what we call the SARS-2 coronavirus. So what is causing the outbreak, the name of the virus, the SARS-2 coronavirus, and the disease it causes is what we call the COVID-19 disease.
Okay. All right. So, and a few people have asked questions, and I'm sure you have some responses to give to them. What would you want to say to them?
Yeah. So I was happy to hear yesterday that the president met the pharmaceutical industry group, and then also the bankers as well. And I think that this is something in the pipeline. It's my hope that within perhaps a short while, it's possible the president may come out with, and the pharmaceutical industries may come out with these sanitizers and make them available to the public. So we should look forward to that, and I'm quite confident that this may be done. And then on the prisoners I heard, I think that the prisoners could be a problem in terms of congestion and overcrowdedness, but the prisoners are on observation, right? So they have prison warders who are always there observing, and if anybody has any form of exposure, I'm sure that they will follow the protocol. So they are a problem, but then I don't see them of much of a problem. But these groups that nobody cares to see them, nobody monitors, nobody watches over them, I think that they are a bit of a concern that we could include them in our plan for prevention.
All right, so Nuhu Abdullah on Facebook says, Doctor, thank you for the wonderful education. Positive Change Madina from Positive Change Madina says, as we are all busy discussing coronavirus, let us also not forget that there is also another deadly voter registration exercise which is set to kick off next month, which is more harmful than this coronavirus. I hear you. This one says, let's be our brothers keeper. Benjamin Williams there. Prince Clement Ado says, how do people get connected to radio stations in Ghana? I called Love FM, all the contacts I could find. No one picked to even ask. Well, I'm sure you didn't call the right number. If you did, well, somebody would have picked up, because we picked so many calls this morning, and we do keep picking calls on a daily basis. Now, good morning, Love FM. I'm monitoring you live from Dagomba line. The people need more information about the virus. Organizations need to come here to educate our people and help them with sanitizers so they can use it. God will protect us. That's what he says, inshallah. And so somebody's asking about ventilation. Now, we showed this video, they watched it, and the person is asking some other diseases that can come as a result of poor ventilation in rooms. What advice, what information can you share with us?
Poor ventilation and pneumonia are very much correlated. So, in Ghana, I think pneumonia is one of the third leading causes of death. This could be caused by other things like bacteria, which could be a problem. So, poor ventilation itself has been a worry and has been responsible for quite a number of respiratory disease. And I feel that with this new thing coming on board, if you have an added pathogen complicated with our already poor ventilation conditions, then you should think that we are likely to have such a difficulty.
Doc, how can I say thank you, and how can I thank you being enough? I'm always grateful to you for your time with us here on Love 99.5. But before you leave us, I'm sure you have something final to leave with us.
A very good morning to Professor Ellis Owusu-Dabo, the Dean of the School of Public Health, Professor Richard Phillips of KCCR, and to our Vice Chancellor, Professor Kwesi Obridan. So I wish them all the best. And I hope that with these difficult times, Ghanaians should be able to work very hard to ensure that we don't expose ourselves.
Something before you go, some people are saying that hand sanitizers are limited supply now. They are unavailable mostly or largely. And some also saying that, well, you can use Apio to wash your hands as it's pure alcohol. What do you make of it? Does it help?
I wouldn't want to advise that, because there is a scientific evidence of using 70% alcohol. It is able to disrupt the envelopes. If it's lower than that, the viruses, you will do nothing to them.
Okay.
If it's above that, you still do nothing to them. So let's stick to the advice we have, and nobody should use a pill or drink a pill and expect that the person will be fine.
Thank you very much, Dr. Michael Owusu, for your time with us this very morning. Well, we have more conversations on the coronavirus coming up your way, plus power outages in the country. We have all this coming up your way right here on Love 99.5. Stick and stay with us, and let's enjoy the morning together.
Yeah, hello. This is Dr. Wumpini.
Hey, Wumpini, where have you been? Long time.
I'm paying you for no more. Ben,
أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
You say you're not starting yet. Yeah, Diana, adventure.
But they come now. When I go back, my own.
That's a bang on I know it's not